In the realm of forgotten maps there lies an enigma, whispering pines the town that vanished, leaving only whispers of its past. This spectral echo of a town, hidden away from prying eyes, only exists in hushed stories and age-old folklore. It's a town that once thrived, its heartbeat echoing in the rustling of the pine trees, now lost in the folds of time. But why? How? The answers remain as elusive as the town itself, buried within its abandoned structures and empty streets, whispering tales of a time that no longer exists. In this world of the unknown, there's an irresistible allure for those who seek to unravel mysteries. Among such souls are four friends: Taylor, Jordan, Casey, and Morgan. Each one unique in their own right, but united by the thrill of the unexplored. Yet it is Morgan who stands apart, his curiosity burning brighter, his spirit more daring. He is the compass that directs their adventure, the beating heart of their exploration. The enigma of Whispering Pines has always intrigued Morgan. He's heard the legends, the rumors, the ghost stories that surround this town. Whispering Pines, it was said, stood still while the world moved on. Its heartbeat was a different rhythm, a rhythm that echoed in the silence of the night, in the whisper of the wind, in the rustle of the pine trees, a rhythm that lured him into its fold. Morgan knew that the only way to uncover the truth was to step into the heart of the mystery itself. He yearned to walk down the abandoned lanes of Whispering Pines, to feel the eerie silence, to listen to the whispers of the past echoing in the wind. His determination was infectious, inspiring Taylor, Jordan, and Casey to join him on this thrilling expedition. And so, with a curious mind and a brave heart, Morgan led the group towards the heart of Whispering Pines. Little did they know what awaited them in the depths of the forgotten town, where time danced to its own tune and the night held secrets that were better left undiscovered. As they crossed the threshold into the town, an eerie quietude greeted them. There was a hush, a stillness that hung heavy in the air, as though the town itself held its breath. The ghostly outlines of once bustling buildings loomed before them, their skeletal frames a stark reminder of a life that once thrived here. Morgan, always the fearless one, led the pack, his boots crunching on the gravel path, disturbing the silence. They moved through the town, each step a cacophony in the oppressive quiet. Morgan's eyes darted from building to building, the dilapidated structures casting long, ominous shadows that twisted and danced with their every move. The wind whispered through the empty streets, carrying with it the faintest hint of a past life. Morgan could almost hear the laughter of children playing, the chatter of townsfolk, the life that once filled these streets. But as quickly as it came, it was gone, swallowed by the unsettling silence. As they ventured deeper into the town, an uncanny feeling washed over them. The buildings, the streets, the very air seemed to hum with an energy that was almost palpable. Morgan's heart pounded in his chest, the rhythm echoing the tick-tock of a clock. Time seemed to be playing tricks on them. Shadows lengthened, and the sun seemed to dip lower, casting the town into an early twilight. The sudden onset of night startled them. One moment the sun was there, and the next it was as if someone had flicked off a light switch. The darkness, thick and impenetrable, wrapped around them like a shroud. Their flashlights cut through the inky blackness, casting eerie pools of light on the crumbling buildings. Just as the last ray of sun vanished, Morgan felt a shiver of dread. The night had fallen too quickly. The darkness was not a comfort, but a confounding, disorienting blanket that threatened to swallow them whole. The reality of their predicament settled in. A chilling realization that they were trapped in this forgotten town, where the rules of time and space seemed to have been discarded. Their adventure was turning into a nightmare, and the worst was yet to come. In the blink of an eye, the night gave way to day, and then back to night again. Time, it seemed, had lost its bearings in Whispering Pines. The group stood bewildered. What they'd perceived as mere minutes had swiftly morphed into hours, then days. Morgan's heart pounded in his chest, a rapid rhythm of alarm echoing his confusion. His mind raced, attempting to make sense of the inexplicable. As an engineer, Morgan had always been ruled by logic, but Whispering Pines was defying every law of nature he'd ever known. With each passing moment, the sun and moon performed a dizzying dance across the sky, a celestial ballet that had lost all sense of rhythm. Desperation set in as they tried to escape this peculiar temporal prison. They ran, they drove, they even tried to signal for help, but all roads led back to the eerily silent heart of Whispering Pines. It was as if the town itself was a vortex, pulling them back into its grasp, with a force they couldn't resist. They retraced their steps, hoping to find some anomaly, some glitch in the fabric of reality that might provide a clue to their predicament. But every attempt seemed to reset the loop, plunging them back into the same disorienting cycle of day and night. Morgan's calm exterior began to crumble, his panic seeping out in sharp, ragged breaths. He could see the same fear mirrored in the faces of his friends. Their camaraderie, once a source of comfort, now served as a stark reminder of their shared terror. Yet, they pressed on. They had to. The alternative was to succumb to the relentless passage of time, to become permanent fixtures in this desolate ghost town. But with each loop, their hope dwindled, their spirits sinking further into the abyss of despair. The town of Whispering Pines, once an intriguing mystery, had become their worst nightmare. They were trapped, caught in the relentless grip of a time loop with no apparent way out. With each loop, their fear intensified. They were prisoners of time in this forgotten town. Each loop brought with it not just the swift change of day to night, but also a series of horrifying events repeating over and over again. There was a certain rhythm to the terror, a chilling dance of déjà vu that swirled around us, a macabre ballet that began with the abrupt descent of darkness. First, the flickering streetlights would burst into life, their ghostly glow casting long, monstrous shadows. Then, the haunting melody of a forgotten lullaby would echo from the abandoned schoolhouse, a melancholic tune that seemed to seep into the very marrow of our bones. Morgan, our stoic guide through this nightmare, bore the brunt of the horror. He was the first to notice the spectral figures flitting at the edges of our vision, the first to feel the cold caress of phantom fingers on his skin. But it wasn't just these spectral apparitions that tormented him. It was the growing despair that gnawed at his heart, the realization that despite his best efforts, he was powerless to shield his friends from the terror that unfolded around them. He tried to break the cycle, to change the narrative of the repeating horrors. He tried to silence the spectral lullaby, to extinguish the ghostly streetlights, to confront the shadowy figures. But each attempt was met with chilling indifference. The horrors persisted, relentless and unyielding, a chilling reminder of our entrapment within Whispering Pines. Morgan's fear was palpable, a shroud that clung to him, growing denser with each passing loop. Yet within this fear there was a spark of determination, a fierce resolve to protect his friends, to break free of the town's icy grasp. But with each failed attempt, this spark flickered, threatening to be extinguished by the overwhelming tide of despair. But no matter what Morgan did, the horrors replayed, each time more terrifying than the last. Each loop was a fresh descent into terror, a chilling reminder that we were prisoners within Whispering Pines, trapped within a never-ending cycle of horror. And as the echoes of the spectral lullaby faded into the night, we knew that the dance of déjà vu would soon begin anew. In the midst of their terror, Morgan clung onto a glimmer of hope. There had to be a way out. Even as the world around him spiraled into a terrifying abyss of time, space and reality, he held on to the belief that there was an escape. The town of Whispering Pines might have been forgotten by the world, but Morgan wasn't prepared to let it forget him. The first thing he did was to take control of his fear. He knew that panic would only lead to mistakes, and in this eerie town, where time danced to its whimsical tune, mistakes could be deadly. So he gathered his thoughts, took a deep breath, and started planning. He needed to understand the rules of this ghostly game, to find the chink in the armor of this time loop. His approach was methodical. He began observing the patterns, the repeating horrors. He took note of the time when the day turned into night, the sequence of the terrifying events, the places they'd been when the loop restarted. He was searching for a pattern, a clue, anything that could give him an edge. But Whispering Pines was a tricky adversary. With each new loop, it seemed to throw a new challenge at him. Sometimes the loop would restart at a different location. At other times, the sequence of events would change. Each new obstacle was like a cruel joke, a reminder of the town's power over them. And yet, Morgan refused to give up. He was determined to beat this town at its own game. He was resolved to find a way out of this never-ending nightmare. Every failed attempt, every disappointment only fueled his determination. But the town was relentless. It was as if it was feeding off their fear, growing stronger with each passing loop. The horrifying events became more intense, the loops shorter. It was as if the town was tightening its grip on them, refusing to let go. Yet, with each failed attempt, hope seemed to be slipping through his fingers. But Morgan wasn't ready to let go, not yet. He knew that giving up meant losing not just his life, but also the lives of his friends, and he wasn't prepared to pay that price. In the darkest hour, a flicker of truth illuminated the shadows. The veil of the unknown started to lift for Morgan as he stumbled upon a whisper of the past, a clue to the enigma that was Whispering Pines. The town's history, like an old, worn-out tapestry, began to unravel thread by thread. In the eerie silence, Morgan could almost hear the forgotten echoes of the town's past, the laughter, the cries, the hushed whispers. The abandoned town was not just a collection of crumbling buildings and dusty roads. It was a vessel of secrets, a silent witness to a time that now seemed lost in the endless loop of horror. As he delved deeper into the town's mystery, Morgan felt a surge of understanding. The town was trapped in a temporal anomaly, a glitch in the fabric of time. The rapid fall of night, the chilling repetition of horrors, it all started to make sense. Whispering Pines was a prisoner of its own time, and so were they. The realization sparked a renewed determination in him. He felt a sense of purpose, a burning need to break the chains of the time loop that held them captive. His friends, Taylor, Jordan, Casey, they were all depending on him. He couldn't let them down, not now when the flicker of truth was finally within his grasp. The fear that had once consumed him was now replaced with resolve. He was no longer a helpless victim of the town's twisted reality. He was a beacon of hope, a warrior ready to fight against the unseen forces. He knew he had to tread carefully, for the town was a maze of time, and they were merely pawns in its game. The path to freedom was not going to be easy, but with the truth on his side, he felt invincible. The horrors that once seemed insurmountable were now challenges he was ready to face. He was prepared to brave the storm, to walk through the fire, to face the terror once more. Armed with this newfound knowledge, Morgan was ready to face the terror once again. As the loop began anew, Morgan steeled himself for what could be their final confrontation with the horrors of Whispering Pines. The chill of the wind, the eerie silence, the creeping darkness, everything was the same, yet everything had changed. Morgan, our reluctant hero, clutched the newfound clue tightly in his hand. It was a tiny shard of hope in this unending nightmare, a beacon in the engulfing darkness. His heart pounded in his chest like a war drum, each beat a testament to his determination, his resolve to break free from the sinister grip of Whispering Pines. The tension among the four friends was palpable, a heavy blanket of dread that threatened to smother their spirits. Yet they pressed on, guided by the flickering light of Morgan's clue. Each step echoed through the abandoned town, a haunting symphony of their fear and courage. The shadows seemed to dance around them, whispering tales of despair and doom. The forgotten town seemed to come alive, feeding off their fear. But Morgan, the beacon of hope, stood unyielding, his resolve unwavering. The bravery he displayed was not born out of fearlessness, but rather from the sheer will to survive, to escape the claws of the monstrous loop that held them captive. As they navigated through the labyrinth of dilapidated buildings and overgrown foliage, their hearts echoed with the hope of escape. The clue was leading them somewhere, to something. Could this be their way out? The anticipation grew, their breaths hitching as they neared their potential salvation. But just as they saw a glimmer of escape, the loop reset once again, shattering their hopes like fragile glass. The familiar chill, the silence, the darkness, they were back at the beginning, trapped in their never-ending nightmare. It left the audience on the edge of their seats, their hearts pounding in their chests, wondering, will they ever escape Whispering Pines?